Want that. Anyways, continue.
Yeah. Last week, I think we didn't have a class on this last week. We spoke about the custom that exists in all Chassidic circles that a Rebbe would distribute sometimes wine, sometimes challah, and sometimes matzah. We know the Rebbe gave out dollars, the Rebbe gave out certain books. So we brought certain sources for a lot of the things where we find that this is what was done, the shaking of a hand or giving a coin. But what we didn't explain is why. In other words, if the point behind this is a bracha, so why doesn't the Rebbe, the tzaddik, whoever it is, just verbally say that he's giving a blessing? And why does it have to be through pouring wine or distributing matzah or any of this? So the answer is as follows. We need a little bit of an introduction to this. And this subject is something which is talked a lot about in the teachings of Chassidus, mainly in the time of Rosh Hashanah. And I think we touched on it before a little bit, but let me explain a little bit better and then we'll understand this. On Rosh Hashanah, we ask Hashem for different blessings, for blessings which we want to get during the year. So people ask for good health, people ask for sustenance, and for everything else that they need. And the reason is because on Rosh Hashanah, Hashem makes a judgment, and that's when he decides what's going to happen for the rest of the year. So the question is, if Hashem decides on Rosh Hashanah how much income I'll have this year, he decides on Rosh Hashanah which blessings I'll have this year, he makes all those decisions on Rosh Hashanah, then what's the point later in the year to make any kind of effort, even in prayer? What are we davening for if we already did all the davening Rosh Hashanah? And on Rosh Hashanah, Hashem already made the judgment. He made up his mind what's going to be the rest of the year. What's the point in davening? And if the point is that, well, any time of the year, you can always ask Hashem to change his decision and to look at things differently. So why make such a commotion on Rosh Hashanah? Let's just daven every day. And Rosh Hashanah should be like any other day. What makes it so different that it's Rosh Hashanah, everything is written, everything is sealed. That seems to imply that once it's decided on Rosh Hashanah, that's it. It's sealed and it's a done deal, and you have to stick to it. So then if you have to stick to it, what's the point throughout the year, 3 times a day, asking for sustenance, asking for health, asking for a home, and asking for clothing, and asking for all the brachas we ask for? So the way it's explained in Chassidus is that everything that happens to us here in this physical world originates in the spiritual realm, everything, because it all comes from Hashem. So that means initially Hashem reveals, expresses, releases, whatever word you want to use, manifests a certain light, certain energy. Let's say we'll call it, it's from the realm of chesed, his kindness, which is something totally spiritual. And then that evolves from the spiritual realm and evolves. Evolves means that it becomes processed and closer, moves away from the spiritual and becomes closer to be formed in some sort of a physical way. And ultimately it manifests in a blessing that I have a job, or I get a new job, or I get paid on my job, or that I'm able to buy a home, or able to buy a second home, or able to buy a third home, whatever it is, the blessing. But if it's a blessing that I'm getting something physical, we should understand that this physical blessing is a result of something spiritual which was given to me, and Hashem processes it, that spiritual energy should be processed and evolve and manifest in a form of physical money, physical clothing, a physical child, a physical shidduch, or physical blessing of any form or shape. Is this concept generally understood? Is everybody familiar with this? This is the ABC of what Chassidus teaches us. Is there any question on what I just said? No. Okay. So now,
Wait,
yeah.
is it like the manifestation of the spiritual blessing? Is it contingent upon like our free will of creating vessels for it, or is it just completely in Hashem's hands whether we'll receive it or not in the different ways that we'll receive it through?
So that's what I'm getting to.
Okay.
You're right on track.
Okay.
So step one is just to understand that what happens here physically is a result of something that goes on spiritually. I mean, one of the ways just to relate to this is whenever you talk about this spiritual physical interaction and connection, is it says in Gemara, it says in the Medrash, that Hashem and the world would be compared to a soul and a body. In other words, think of the universe as a huge body, and Hashem is the huge soul that gives life to the body. So let's think for a moment about the interaction between the soul and the body. A person, when you look at another person, you see the body, and you see the body acting a certain way. The person's running, the person's screaming, the person's crying, the person's laughing, the person's walking, the person has a sad face, has a happy face. Whatever you see on the outside, in reality, is a manifestation of what's going on the inside. So if you see a face that looks like the person is happy, certain radiance in the face, this person, you know that they heard good news, and internally there's an emotion called excitement or happiness, and that emotion is manifesting in this radiant face. If you see Chas v'Shalom person crying and a sad face, that means that there's an emotion inside which is sadness, that's expressing itself that way. If a person is screaming, shouting because they're excited about something, they're animated about something, again, what you see with your eyes, what you hear with your ears is physical sound and visual movements, but everything you see is a expression and a manifestation of something going on internally, correct? So the same is with Hashem. Think of the spiritual realm as the soul, the physical world is the body, and whatever happens here, today it's cold because spiritually there's something happening up there which Hashem revealed a certain energy, we'll say it's from Gevura, and that makes down here, it manifests down here in cold weather. A different day, it's warm weather. One day it's a snow, one day there's a volcano, another day there's an earthquake. All this that happens down here is a result and manifestation of something that happened up there. And from there, it manifests down here. So when we think of it about the world at large, it's a little bit easier to think of it, but it applies to every single one of us on a personal level. If one day I decide I want to buy a car and I go through what I have to go, and finally I buy my car, I'm very excited. So today I got this gift, I got a car, I'm happy about it. We have to understand that on Rosh Hashanah, Hashem decided that this year you're going to merit to have a car. And when Hashem made that decision, it wasn't just a decision. It means he actually sort of expressed of himself this energy of chesed, a specific kind of chesed. When that evolves, eventually it evolved and manifests in a physical car on 4 wheels, and that's going to go to my driveway. Yeah. No, I don't know how to do it. I'm just telling you what happens here.
Right. So if everything is like predetermined on Rosh Hashanah, how do we have that, like, that free will again to do that? I mean, Hashem knows that our future realities.
It's all on the same track. I'm getting there. Right. It's a good question. That's where I'm going. Might have to stretch the clock, but that's where I'm going. Yeah.
Here's where my mind is going.
I know.
Not to let us know.
Okay, no, it makes me think of the paper towel dispensers in the bathroom where you have to spin the wheel for the paper towel to come out. The set amount is already in there. You can either spin it and get the paper towel to make it easier, or you can say, no, I can do this by myself and use my shirt. At the end of the day, the paper towels, the blessings are all there. It's all there for a set amount, and you can either do it yourself and do it the hard way, or you can just be like, no, help make this easier, which is where Hashem comes into play.
Okay, a nice analogy.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
I don't know if that's you being sarcastic, but you'd be like, yeah.
No, it's an analogy. It's just another way of understanding it.
You kind of like have to follow this.
The purpose,
Press down on that.
when we talk about
Yeah,
an
it's like
analogy,
you have to put the work into it. It's there.
any analogy is very different than the real thing, but there's a certain principle that is pretty much the same, and that's true. It is true.
Thank you.
The only difference is that with the paper towel, the paper in the source and the paper that comes out is the same paper. When we talk about spirituality, down here, it's a physical car or a physical home or a physical tree. And up there, it's something which is spiritual. It's part of one of Hashem's spiritual manifestations. And then it evolves and becomes something physical. Yeah.
So are you saying the answer to the question is the first question that you asked, why are we still praying?
No, I didn't get there yet. No.
Okay, I was wondering.
Right, no, I didn't get the answer yet. I'll soon get there. I see already we're not gonna finish today, but at least we'll get started.
Do we ever?
What?
Do we ever?
Yes, to some extent, yes. Want to say something? Yeah,
So the idea of like before Mashiach comes, that there's gonna just be like the Balagan down here. Like, why is there a spiritual Balagan? Also, shouldn't spiritual be like?
there's an answer to that too, yeah. If you bring it up in the Mashiach Hagula class on Friday, we'll deal with that. So another way, another analogy to explain this would be, if I want a tree to grow in my garden, my backyard, I plant a seed. When I plant the seed, I don't have a tree yet, but I do have a seed. I put the seed in the ground. I do whatever it takes to make things grow. And whatever time it takes, a year or more, eventually a tree goes out of the ground. So even though the tree grew out of the ground many, many months later, but when did the process begin? Many months before. What was happening from the beginning until now? Was it just nothing? And then, in other words, you put a seed in the ground, nothing happens, and a year later, a tree pops out. No, from then until now, it's going through stages. And it's no different than a baby that's born, which is also their stage. The 9 months is stages of development, until it develops into a human being, which is the baby that's born. So here, it's also development, but a different kind of development. It's something which is sort of raw material, something which is abstract, something which is spiritual, and it develops and forms into a physical form, which is food, clothing, home, car, whatever it may be. So that means, for example, today is the 20th day of Adar Sheni. If it was determined on Rosh Hashanah that somebody in this room on the day of the 20th of Adar Sheni is gonna win $10 million lottery. Let me know if it does happen. Imagine today's the day that you were told that it's up there, they made that ruling. That means that a certain light and energy of Hashem manifested on Rosh Hashanah, which is part of Hashem's attribute of chesed, of kindness. And from then until now, all these months, every day, it was being processed. And today, when you take by Hashgacha Pratis, you pick the right number and you end up winning $10 million, that is the manifestation of that energy that's finally manifested in a very physical way. Yeah.
So it's sort of like when you want to like upload a really big file to the computer and it takes hours and hours and hours and hours, and then finally, hours later, it uploads.
It's a good muscle. Only thing, I don't know how computers work. So I don't know if it's a good, I know how trees grow. I don't know that
a
either.
printer where you press print and there's like 1,000 pages. And
It's
you don't have
probably,
a whole book.
it's processing the whole time. It
Yeah.
is. That's right. It's processing the whole time. It's processing the whole time. Then eventually it pops up on the screen. Now it's fully developed. So that's what it is. It's a process of
It
development.
shows you load of 10%, 20%,
Yeah.
30%.
Yeah, that means that it's developing. And you have a little guy turning, doing hakafas, dancing on the circles. And eventually you have the picture. Yes.
Now, someone, I think it was Mrs. Vermont, gave a really good muscle. It was like, you're talking with your husband, you're like, okay, we're gonna take the kids to go get ice cream today. And then your kids like just like make balagan and you're like, okay, like we can't take them to get ice cream today, like we planned because look what they're doing. Like it's gonna look like a reward. So then you hold it off for a different time.
Okay, that's a general way of understanding, but I want to explain more like what's the spiritual process. So now let's take the step two. Step two is like this. What if all this was set into motion, that on this day it's supposed to be this big bracha coming down. So every single day it's getting close, like you just said, that's also a good example. It's 20% closer, 30% closer, which means if it was on Rosh Hashanah and the time for today, you can figure out percentage-wise what's happening each day. If it was on Rosh Hashanah to happen in the summertime, it's a longer process. If it was in Hanukkah time, it's a shorter process, everything according to what it needs. But what happens if a person does something in this time period, for whatever reason, that this thing that they did causes that blessing to be blocked? What does that mean? It means that normally this would be developing, and manifesting and coming down to a sort of a lower physical plane. Now that I did something that blocks it, it stops. It sort of freezes in the middle. The process doesn't continue.
It's like, they said.
Like the computer freezes.
They take a computer and then the Wi-Fi goes off. So.
Shalom.
You have to start again. That's the problem.
Okay, it's a good mashal, but over here you don't have to start again. Over here, what we're saying is, this would be like saying that it's coming from this. Here we go again. How does this happen? This is the highest of the worlds, that's Silus. It's one world, then there's the second world, and there's the third world, and there's the fourth world, and this energy evolves from here to here to here to here. And somewhere in the middle, one of those days, something went wrong, and over here, boom, it stops. It doesn't continue.
Which world are we in?
We're over here. This is Mahal. If you look closely,
Why is it a
you'll
cross?
see black ink here.
I was a little bit more, does it have like a church?
So then a person, and that's what our davening is. The davening is that whatever was determined on Rosh Hashanah and whatever was processed on Rosh Hashanah should continue in its path and not be stopped for any other reason. And therefore it continues. And as a result of my davening every day, today I'm davening for things that are meant to happen today. Tomorrow I'm davening, let's say a person's praying for health. I'm praying that I should be healthy today. But Baruch Hashem was already decreed on Rosh Hashanah I should be healthy today. So today I'm praying that bracha, which was already given and it's already in process, should continue in its path and not be, the process shouldn't be aborted, so to speak, shouldn't be frozen. But even if it's frozen, it doesn't mean that it disappears. You could refresh it. That's another thing. Yeah.
What if you're praying for something that's not meant to happen?
If you're praying something that's meant to happen, it could also happen through prayer, but then you need a much greater merit for it to happen because it was never ruled on Rosh Hashanah. Yeah.
And like Hush Shalom, like on Rosh Hashanah, it was ruled that you should be sick that day. Or
You can do the opposite.
So, but that prayer of like.
No, so on Rosh Hashanah, if the ruling was the opposite, that means there's a certain energy that's going to cause the negative thing to happen. It's also processing.
So when you daven, you should.
And when I daven, I could stop that negative energy from continuing.
So when you daven, you shouldn't be specifically davening for whatever was processed on Rosh Hashanah to come through, because what if part of that process was you being sick?
No, so I don't have to go into that detail. That's Hashem's part, what to do and how to do. I just ask for health. And if it was, if God forbid there was something meant to happen, it'll be stopped because Hashem, because I did tefillah today, I did a mitzvah, had a certain merit which was able to override whatever went wrong, and now it'll get stopped. Yeah.
So would it be the same rule applies to somebody who was told on Rosh Hashanah that they're not gonna live anymore after this day?
Sure.
And so can you change it?
Sure. That's why we have prayer. Otherwise, we wouldn't have prayer every day.
So the people who pass away, then we can say that nobody prayed for them on.
Well, let me give you the first introduction. We don't know, number one. We don't know how Hashem runs the world. We don't know. But what we could say is either that they didn't realize to pray, or they did pray, but for some reason there was a certain decree And there wasn't enough going on to be able to override that decree. For some reason, I mean, things happen every day, unfortunately, that are not pleasant. And sometimes people daven and they say till they give tzedakah. It still happens, which means sometimes there could be a decree. That's what a decree means. Like it's something that just can't be. It can be blocked. It can be stopped, whatever. But we don't know that. Right. We only know that after the fact. But I just want to give you an example. There's a famous story in Gemara. This is just an example regarding your question and the question you asked. Famous story in Gemara with the daughter of Rabbi Akiva. That there was a stargazer. This is a Gemara that the Gemara brings a number of stories of the power of tzedakah. It's related to today's chitas. We spoke about it this morning. So the Gemara tells a story of a stargazer that he was talking to his disciples, and he said to them, "You see that woman? She's getting married tonight. It's going to be her last night in this earth. I see it in the stars." And the next day, she was alive and well. And the student said to him, "Okay, there's something wrong with your reading of the stars." He says, "No, I saw it clearly. It can be." And he was so determined. He came over to her and he said, told the story. He said, "Would you give me permission to just look what's going on in your house, in your apartment?" And she gave him permission. And what he found was a dead snake, a poisonous snake. She had a hat with a pin. And it must have been at night. She put the pin, she was going to stick it into the wood. Not seeing what's there, she actually stuck it by mistake into the eyes of the snake and killed him right on the spot.
Oh.
So he said, "You see, something was meant to happen, but it didn't happen." She went and told her father the story. Her father was Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva said, "Tell me, my daughter, what did you do at the night of the wedding? You must have done something out of the ordinary." And she said that there was a table that they always set by a wedding, that people who are poor, and they're not really anyone to invite to the wedding, but there are people that are poor or homeless. Here's a place they can come in and have a meal. And she saw that that table was not set for the poor people. Now she's the kala, she shouldn't be doing anything. But because she saw that they weren't having their food, she went and she set it up for them. So he said the mitzvah of tzedakah saved your life. So if we think of it, if this snake was by her apartment, that means obviously something must have been decreed on Rosh Hashanah. And not only up there, it already started to manifest down here, which means whatever energy that was already in this snake, which was already approaching her. And yet at the last minute, because she did this mitzvah at the last minute, it blocked it and it was stopped. So this is the purpose of davening, of mitzvahs. And we say this on Rosh Hashanah, that there are three things they can block any decree: tshuva, prayer, and tzedakah. These three things. So that's why on a daily basis, both things are true. How does all this relate to our discussion here? So really, when we give a bracha to ourselves, to family members, to friends, we say, "Have a good, sweet year," we really have in mind two things. What we're really saying is, number one, Hashem should give you, his verdict for you this year should be goodness and sweetness. And number two, the goodness and sweetness should actually connect and should manifest and come to fruition here in the physical world. This is one of the reasons why on Rosh Hashanah we dip challah in honey, we eat a sweet apple. I'll get to you in a second. Like, why do we have to dip in physical honey? Why isn't it good enough just to say, "Have a sweet year"? We want to make a connection between the bracha and something physical, which is instrumental in bringing that spiritual blessing down to the most physical, tangible level. And that's why we dip it into physical sweetness, which is honey, a physical sweet apple, which is, again, sweetness, and so on. Yes?
You said that Teshuvah, prayer, and tzedakah changes a decree.
That even if there is a decree, chas v'shalom, which means Hashem decreed that this negative thing is meant to happen, through tshuva or tefillah and tzedakah, we can cancel it.
Wait, but I thought that you said a decree is something that no matter how much you pray or anything that's meant to happen, it will happen.
No,
So-
obviously we could change it or cancel it, but I said sometimes there's a decree that for whatever reason, unknown to us, we don't know the background to what's going on, that there's nothing that could stop it, even though there was a lot of prayer and a lot of tzedakah and a lot of.
So what if the person is not educated and knowledgeable about these three things, teshuvah, prayer, and tzedakah, and they don't perform the act? and Hashem punishes them by doing harm to them, like, for example, death. So does that person have the excuse to, like, what would that mean?
It means that we don't really understand how Hashem is running this world. That's all it means. Obviously, the mere fact that this person doesn't have the knowledge to know what needs to be done, and that's all part of what was meant to happen, I guess.
So would you say that this lady who, the bride, the kala, who set up the table, if she had done that and she was still killed that night, then that's a decree that she was supposed to be killed.
Right.
Nothing would have stopped her.
That's what it means, yeah. Yeah.
Say that someone who doesn't know about davening or about that has like a really close experience, like with a great disaster, God forbid, but at the last minute they were saved. Was in that case, if the decree was either averted, but they didn't know about any of the ways to avert it. So was the decree to have the experience be a near one? Or was the decree to?
So we never know. Sometimes things are averted. It's nothing, you don't even know what you did that was so powerful, so amazing, and so special. And because of that, Hashem averted. Like in this case, she had no idea that she did anything spectacular, except that her father asked her, tell me what you did. But otherwise, she didn't take much credit. She didn't think a big deal out of it. Even someone who's not from, not religious, they could still be doing things that are acts of kindness or other things that are amazing. And in their mind, there might be nothing. In Hashem's accounting, it's something very big. And that merit could be working for their benefit. Yeah.
You know how people who are single will like buy something, like buy a dress for their l'chaim, or like buy like a talis or something for their chassid, like before they meet him. Do you say that's an example of like connecting the bracha to something physical, like you said, like you think it's a good thing
Yeah,
to do?
that's one of the examples, right? That's one of the reasons why people do that.
Wait, I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
In other words, if you're hoping for something to happen and you trust that Hashem will give you this blessing, not only to trust, but actually to do something which is sort of an indication that you are a demonstrator that you really believe that it's going to happen.
But I also heard that that's bad luck.
Not in my world the thing that I was taught. It's not bad luck. You might be speaking about something else, but for example, the Rebbe would tell people who unfortunately somebody was sick or there was some sort of, the Rebbe would give them a bracha and then would tell them, go ahead and make a party to celebrate Hashem's bracha. But the bracha didn't happen yet. Celebrate it as if it happened. And that itself makes it happen. So Sarah is saying, is this part of like connecting it to the physical? And the answer is yes. Number one, it demonstrates my confidence in Hashem in a very strong way. And number two, it's making the connection to the physical. So we'll have to explain this more tomorrow. This is the deeper meaning behind giving a bracha through a physical object, whether it's wine or matzah and so on. We'll elaborate a little bit more on this tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
So we continue. Rabbi, I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so like for getting learning dedicated to someone for like Aliyah for their neshama, all that,
Right.
on Friday.
Yeah.
Because I just looked up the Hebrew date and it was the 22nd of Adar and Adar Sheni. So it's like, whoa, even more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So speaking to the outfit tomorrow.
Okay, cool. I
so
need
it's a
to,
good parents.
yeah, because I need to get the name,
And
but it was,
Father's Day.
yeah. Because it
So
was
your
some,
outside you're saying?
yeah,
It's a Father's
because
Day.
she was murdered. By
Father's name, not.
Once someone passes away, then it goes with the father's name, not the mother's name.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I did it wrong.
You had both names.
Huh?
I think you had both names there.
No, I had only mother.
Only mother?
Ben of mother and daughter of,
Oh, because you had two people.
yeah.
Hey, it's not too far away. I mean, it's also, I don't know the reason why it's done that way, but that's what we do.
I should have put
And
the
for-
father
For your
name.
side, you put the father's name.
Oh, no.
Like, for example, you right here, this is, Brazil. And this is for,
Thank you, Rabbi
the name, you're very welcome, thank you. Adina, the daughter of Shimon.
So I did it wrong for both.
Hashem knows.
It's not right. Shimon.
Hashem, nobody told me. I didn't know.
Kristen's sister.
But you did write the mother name. So
Did
it's
you
also-
find them? I hope Hashem found my
He
parents.
has the state-of-the-art computer over there. He finds it even with the mother's name. Yeah.
Okay,
Because this
thank
girl
you.
wasn't observant at all, so then I'm just like, okay, even more so. You know.
Was it a friend of yours?
I didn't know her super well, but I was very close to friends that were close to her.